But let me start with Elon Musk. Does the president have any plans to speak with him this week? Has he spoken to him yet since this fight?
No, he hasn't, and frankly, I don't think the president intends to. The president is very much focused on delivering on his priorities for the American people, and that includes passing the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I'd like to add that the president shares the concerns of Elon and Senator Johnson about our nation's debt crisis. It's one of the many reasons he decided to run for president in re-election again. And that's precisely why we need this bill to pass and to be sent to the president's desk for signature as soon as possible. Because this bill provides $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. And when you combine that with the tariff revenue that President Trump's America First trade agenda is bringing in, nearly $3 trillion over the next 10 years, that's a projection, according to the Congressional Budget Office. And when you combine that with the Council of Economic Advisors projected growth of 3%, we're going to cut the deficit by $8 trillion over the next 10 years. And look at all of the other pro-growth economic policies this president has taken. He understands the concerns about our nation's crippling debt. That's why we need this bill to pass. It will ultimately reduce the deficit, and the president is very much focused on signing this historic piece of legislation.
Yeah, and I know the president has said many times that his ultimate goal is to balance the budget. So we know where his heart is and where his priorities are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so that little intro right there, I just wanted to put that out there just for the information on that. We're not even talking about that today. We're talking about something totally different. As a matter of fact, I've got two news stories for you guys. One of them is going to be brief, folks. It's going to be brief, but it is showing high levels of media manipulation on this. Check this out right quick, y'all. Operation against protests. Get that. Okay, so what does that say? U.S. government deploys National Guard. Okay, so they're deploying the National Guard. They're going after protesters, you guys. That's what this says. Watch this. Watch this. This is insane. In Los Angeles, California, the first of 2,000 National Guard troops have taken up positions. They are deployed against the wishes of the federal government. Huh? The federal government deployed them. What are you talking about? Donald Trump sits atop the federal government. The federal government deployed the National Guard troops. You might be wondering why. Okay, this is all being set up fascinatingly so. Watch, you'll see. Once again, folks, the media lies to you, but sometimes you have to read between the line to get the truth. It's fascinating. Against the wishes of the federal government, the U.S. president has deployed the troops to stop protests in the city against the actions of the U.S. immigration authorities. What? So, they're stopping protests against immigration authorities. Now, most people, once again, they don't read through all the news. They just read the headline and maybe the first few paragraphs. And the media knows this. And they intentionally structure these news articles specifically for that purpose. Yeah, that is done on purpose. This is why I always tell people, you need to read all the way through the article, folks. Or at least most of the way through the article to get to the truth. Check this out. California Governor Newsom spoke of a deliberate provocation of the situation by the government in Washington. His state is coordinating closely with county and city authorities, and there is currently no need for reinforcements. Mayor Bass emphasized at X, I think they meant to say on X, this is a difficult time for our city. Everyone has the right to peaceful protest. However, violence and destruction are unacceptable, and those responsible will be held accountable. Now, you got to think to yourself, okay, why would she make that statement? Everybody's entitled to be a peaceful protester, right? To your protest rights. Right, but, okay, so why would she mention that people that commit violence will be held to account? I wonder why that is. Oh, hang on, they're deploying National Guard troops as well to stop peaceful protesters. Clearly, right? Right? That's what the corporate press is trying to make you believe. Earlier, more than 40 people were arrested in raids by the immigration authorities in Los Angeles. As a result, protests and clashes between demonstrators and federal police took place in the city yesterday for the second consecutive day. Protests are expected in the city today. There we go. There's the truth. Once again, you got to read between the line. Oh, they just titled it clashes between protesters and federal police. What does that say to you? What does that say? I could go the other direction and say that is an insurrection. Because that's the definition of insurrection. It's when you fight with the government, when you fight with police, when you fight with any sort of authority figure. Yeah, insurrection doesn't mean you're coupping the government, by the way. It just means that you're in opposition and you are in physical violence with said authorities. That's all that means. It's insane, folks. Like, I just can't stand these narratives that come from the corporate press. It blows my freaking mind. But I've got another one for you guys because, once again, we've got a lot of speculation. And once again, the news is just manipulating the crap out of you. So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Elon Musk's fight with Scott Bessent turned physical. Yeah, so apparently yesterday the Washington Post reported that Elon Musk and Scott Bessent got into a fist fight. Well, let's see what they have to say about this. The public unraveling between Donald Trump and Elon Musk reportedly began well before last week's fiery X post, according to the Washington Post. Tensions exploded after Musk physically clashed with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and pushed back hard against the White House's spending agenda. Yeah, that is mostly true. 17 officials confirmed that Musk alienated key members of the White House staff, including Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and engaged in bitter arguments with cabinet members. What does that say right off there? Right? So 17 people confirmed this. Oh, that was just bitter clashes. That's healthy for a democracy, by the way. That is very healthy, but that speaks nothing to a physical altercation, does it? No, it doesn't. Once again, you got to be wary of the way they structure the news, folks. Got to be wary of that because they're going to just go ahead and buttress that with some nonsense. The final straw came in April when Musk shoved Bessent like a rugby player during a dispute over IRS leadership. Bessent responded with punches, an incident Trump later said was too much. Now, that once again, they are combining a whole bunch of different aspects and a bunch of comments from, well, not a bunch of comments, but a comment from somewhere and the comments or actions that really aren't related at all with that. But this is also unconfirmed. This is a disputed report that there was a physical altercation between Scott Bessent and Elon Musk. I'm just getting that out there right quick. The media is presenting this to you as confirmed because sources said so. As a matter of fact, they're using Steve Bannon as a source, and Steve Bannon wasn't there. Now, I can give you another source that says opposite of somebody that wasn't there as well.
But, you know, Caroline, the Washington Post reported after speaking with Steve Bannon that Elon Musk aggressively body-checked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in the White House. We're all trying to figure out what happened here and how come this got to this level. What happened? Did he body-check the Treasury Secretary in the White House?
Well, look, when this story originally broke, I said from the podium that there have definitely been healthy disagreements amongst the cabinet and Elon Musk. There were times in which they got frustrated with one another, but I think that really speaks to the heart of this cabinet and the president's team, that they can have these robust disagreements and then still come together to do what's right for the people they are serving. And you saw when President Trump graciously sent Elon Musk back to his companies, Secretary Bessent was there in the Oval Office, along with Secretary Lutnick and Stephen Miller. I was there. The Chief of Staff was there. And we were all hoping for the best for Elon. And I think it's unfortunate that now that he's gone back to his companies, he is lambasting this bill that he was very much supportive of by all accounts. I mean, he never spoke out against it until he went back to his companies. And that's okay. He has a right to speak for his companies. But the president and the Treasury Secretary and this whole cabinet are working on behalf of the country. So everyone is focused on moving forward now.
I understand, and I want to get to your thoughts on the trade talks tomorrow. But Caroline, what I'm trying to understand here is how rough this got, because the president said that Elon Musk disrespected the office of the president. Now, we know that there was real disrespect in a lot of those X posts from Elon Musk, for sure. But did he actually get physical? Was there a fist fight that he body-checked the Treasury Secretary?
I certainly wouldn't describe it as a fistfight, Maria. It was definitely a disagreement. Although I was not there, I didn't witness it with my own eyes. I heard about it through secondhand reporting. But again, we've moved on from that. The president has moved on from it. And the entire administration is focusing on passing this bill. But also, Maria, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from our government remains a critical component of this administration's agenda.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, so who are we to believe? Now, what you got to do is you got to sit back or, jump yourself up to 30,000 feet and overlook the whole situation. Okay, why would Elon Musk, over a disagreement as to who should run the IRS, why would he shove himself into Scott Bessent? And then, obviously, if he did that, Scott Bessent would have every right to punch Elon Musk. But in the White House, do you really think that that would escalate to that point? Do you think Scott Bessent would not try to de-escalate the situation? Once again, folks, it is up to you to believe whatever you want to believe. But when you're not presented with all the evidence and they structure the news to make you think, to push you in a certain direction, they're just trying to nudge you a little bit. That's all they're doing by combining different aspects of different situations right on top of each other to make you think that all this whole big situation with Elon Musk is true. It's fascinating, y'all. The fight was rooted in disagreement over the big, beautiful bill, a massive budget proposal Musk opposed. Now, once again, that is manipulative because, yeah, Elon Musk opposes the big, beautiful bill, but the fight had nothing to do with that. The fight, supposedly, the quote-unquote fight, had everything to do with the commissioner of the IRS. Donald Trump chose Scott Bessent's choice for IRS commissioner and not Elon Musk's choice for IRS commissioner. That's what the supposed physical altercation was over, not the big, beautiful bill. Now, the fight over the big, beautiful bill is something totally different. But once again, folks, they like to sandwich all this stuff on top of each other to make you think that this has just been going on for a long time and they're getting into physical fights over the big, beautiful bill. He had promised to uncover $1 trillion in waste, but failed to deliver, drawing criticism from Bessent. Once again, that's something, once again, totally ancillary to everything that's going on here. And to say that, Elon Musk promised $1 trillion in cuts, but didn't deliver on that and got criticized for it. I mean, what are you going to do about that? That is the art of the deal incarnate, right? You come out and you say, we're going to go for this much. If we don't make it, we don't make it. Stuff happens. That's what went on with that $1 trillion proposed in cuts or whatever. That's what went on with that. He didn't make it. He didn't say that he was definitely going to get that much. He just said, this is what we're going to try to get. But they keep going. Trump reportedly called Musk a big-time drug addict. Did he? I haven't heard that anywhere. I've heard that's reported from the corporate press. And unnamed sources say this. Once again, folks, believe what you want. It is what it is, though. And advised allies like J.D. Vance to be cautious around him. The relationship soured further when Trump rejected Musk's push to nominate billionaire Jared Isaacman as NASA administrator. Once again, that's something also totally different. A White House official told the Post, it'll never be the same. Now, it's just fascinating, folks. What I can derive from this is, well, let's just read this. Check this out. This is from a totally different news site about the same story. The report stated that Musk and Bessent had entered the Oval Office in April to express their preference for acting IRS commissioner. After Trump sided with Bessent's choice and the two men exited the Oval Office, they were said to have exchanged insults, and at one point Musk allegedly rammed his shoulder into Bessent's ribcage and Bessent hit him back, Bannon said, informing the outlet that the information had been shared with him. So that's probably the most accurate reporting on that. So once again, they're telling you what was stated to have happened by Steve Bannon. They're not saying this is what happened. We don't know what happened. You know, Caroline Leavitt says the opposite. No, it wasn't a fist fight. They're not saying, like, once again, why would Scott Bessent punch Elon Musk? What you got to think is the truth usually falls somewhere in the middle, right? You hear one side of the story, then you hear the other side of the story, right? We hear Bannon, then we hear Caroline Leavitt, and she's like, nope, nothing to see here. So what happened? Maybe Elon Musk was pissed off and intentionally bumped into Scott Bessent. That's probably what happened. I imagine Scott Bessent did not punch Elon Musk. Once again, the truth is where it is. I'm just saying, it always falls somewhere in the middle. You got to believe whatever you want to believe. But I just can't stand how the corporate press just lies about everything. This is probably the most accurate reporting. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed the report on this week's Sunday Morning Futures, telling Fox News media Maria Bartiromo that the incident was less dramatic than many have assumed. Yeah, so you got to love where this goes. You got to love the news, the manipulations of all these corporate press outlets. Once again, folks, you can believe whatever the hell you want to believe. But I just don't see, you know, Scott Bessent and Elon Musk going at it like it's being reported by Steve Bannon. Who is Steve Bannon anyway to say this? He wasn't there. Supposedly he was told about this. Let's play telephone all day long. Let's do that and have the media just report on the game of telephone. You know, if they would come out and say that, hey, we're playing telephone here, so believe what you want, that would be fine. But the way, once again, with that previous article, the way they set these things up, they'll cherry pick certain events from certain situations and then lump them all together to make this one big, beautiful narrative and present that to you as the truth. It's insane, y'all. And then say, oh, well, this is just reported by these people. What are we left to believe? What are we left to believe when we don't get opposing viewpoints? We got to find somewhere in the middle, folks. And, you know, you just got to sit back, like I said, jump up to 30,000 feet and try to look at everything holistically. Do we think that actually escalated to Scott Bessent throwing a punch at Elon Musk? I highly doubt it, but you never know. So, once again, folks, believe what you want, but I'm going to point out the media manipulation because that is what I do, so that is what I did. Hopefully, you can sit back and take everything in totality and draw your own conclusions from there. But that's all I got on this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching. Hey, y'all don't forget to do me that favor. Smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That is the #1 way to help me out, to help this channel to grow and get this type of information, this type of media manipulation out there, so we can all be equipped with the information to fight back against the media manipulation. And if y'all could, if you would be so inclined, do me a big favor. Look right below the video and click that join button. Sign up, become a member, help me deliver the best possible content to you guys, and help this movement grow of pointing out the media manipulation. But that's all I got on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.